When I was younger, Star Fox 64 was hands down my most favorite game of all time. I played that thing for months and never got bored of it. Years later, I learned there was a Super Nintendo version of it and decided to do a little bit of research about it. In doing so, I learned about the company that made the game, as well as the interesting story of their first game with Nintendo that eventually led to Star Fox. Hey there, this is Megabladej, and today I'll be talking about X for the original Game Boy. X was created by a British company called Argonaut Games. They started out making vector-style games for British computers. They became interested in Nintendo's Game Boy, but was unable to get a hold of a dev kit for it. So what they did was get a Game Boy and reverse engineer the thing to figure out how it worked. Somehow, Nintendo got wind of this, saw the demo they had made, and was very impressed with their progress with it. So, instead of sending their ninjas to take them out, they decided to give Argonaut a shot at making a game for them that would push their handheld to the limit. That game was called X. X is a first-person vehicle shooter for the original Game Boy. It was released in Japan in 1992 and was produced by the late, once again excuse me, I am horrible at saying Japanese names, Gunpei Yokoi, who was the original designer of the Game Boy. In the future, Earth has run out of energy and has turned its eyes to the stars for new resources. They found a new world and began to colonize it. Everything is going fine until one day a distress signal is received from the planet. You are sent out through a space warp to investigate the planet and find it's under attack by aliens. Your goal then becomes to destroy the alien threat and secure the planet for Earth. At the beginning of each mission, your commander, a disembodied floating head, will give you the mission rundown and explain your objectives. All the missions take place on a single giant map that's broken up into smaller zones, all which can be traversed freely. Although there is only one map to explore, it is surprisingly large. The missions are broken up into a number of varied objectives. They include basic escort missions, destroying a certain number of enemy units, protecting your bases, collecting a number of things and bringing a thing someplace before it explodes. There are also bases where you can refill your fuel, missiles, and change out your special weapons. They can also give you a hint to your next objective. While having such a large map with no load times on the original Game Boy is very impressive, there are a few negative points. Your map is huge, everything looks the same, and your goals are not shown on it. Instead, you have a small radar arrow to point you in the right direction. Unfortunately, this radar has a very short range, so you need to be pretty darn close to your objective, or at least in the same square before it activates. Considering the limited amount of buttons on the original Game Boy, the amount of ways to control your ship is very impressive. Your ship has two main modes: a tank mode for ground-based combat, and a flight mode for air-based ones. While on the ground, you can change your speed from regular, reverse, all the way up to turbo. Turbo will allow you to move very fast across the map, but it does use up fuel. Once that's gone, you'll be stuck in regular speed. To activate flight mode, you can either use turbo to jump off a ramp or use a special item. While in flight mode, you're able to zoom across the map and attack enemies that were previously out of your range. This mode does use up fuel very quickly, and once you run out, you go back to tank mode. While the controls in both modes generally feel okay, it's very easy to fly past your target in flight mode, and turning around in tank mode takes forever. But
considering they got this working on the original Game Boy, it's still really freaking impressive. Your ship has missiles and lasers on it. Back at a base, you're able to equip special items such as bombs and homing missiles. Knowing when to equip these is very important, as there are some enemies only weak to certain weapons. The music is also super catchy, and as far as I can tell, this was the debut of now famous Nintendo musician Kazumi Totaka, who would later go on to make music for games such as Yoshi's Story, Luigi's Mansion, and Animal Crossing. As far as the graphics are concerned, I mean, look at this. It's a freaking 3D world on the freaking original Game Boy. This is incredible. I can assure you, this blew some minds back in the day. I mean, the frame rate can be a bit choppy at times, but, still, it's a freaking 3D world on the Game Boy.
As mentioned before, many of the objectives are seek and destroy missions, where you need to take out a certain number of baddies. The issue is many of these targets can move around the entire map. As a result, you may get a hint that one of your targets is in one area, but by the time you get to them, they have moved to the other side of the map. This, combined with the map size and a time limit, makes it a big, stressful guessing game where you need to go next. Though I think I may have made a mistake. All throughout the map, there are tunnels that act as shortcuts to other areas. These tunnels have very impressive 3D effects and play the classic X theme that I'm sure most of you heard for the first time in Smash Bros. These areas play similar to the first-person mode in Star Fox. The goal of these areas is to dodge obstacles and make it to the exit. This will lead you to the other side of the map. Looking back over my footage, I noticed that time stopped when you entered these tunnels. Seeing how far most of the targets moved, I think I was supposed to enter the tunnels to get around the planet faster. The game itself is pretty short, lasting me about maybe 2 hours to beat. Now, the version that I played was fan-translated by I'm saying his name wrong, Anthropogon, and they did a very good job of it. Unfortunately, they had some very bad timing, as the same day they released their translation, the original game, fully in English, was discovered from that big Nintendo Giga Leak that happened. It seems that Argonaut actually made a full English version of the game, but Nintendo of America decided it was too hard for a system they perceived to be for children. The fan-translated version that I played was very well done, and I'm very appreciative to all the work they put into this. Thank you. While impressive in its own right, this game holds great importance for Nintendo fans. This game served as a tech demo of what Argonaut was capable of, and paved the way for them to create one of my most favorite game series, Star Fox. Overall, I enjoyed the game, and say this is definitely a hidden gem of the original Game Boy. It may not be too long, and there is a difficulty spike in the middle, but you have to just appreciate what a technical marvel it is. The fact they're able to get a 3D world working like this is on the original Game Boy is absolutely incredible, and it's just something that any fan of Nintendo should experience, if just for the novelty of it alone. Now, the game did receive a sequel in the West for the DSiWare named Escaped. It plays pretty similarly to the original game, but with more variety in the missions and, different planets to explore. If you enjoyed X, then for sure give the sequel a try if you still have a DSi or a 3DS. Now, this game was only officially released in Japan. If you want to own a physical copy, the prices can range from $40 to $100 on eBay. This has been Megabladej. If you liked the review, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next mission. Bye. They can also give you a hint to where your next... God! There are also stores where you can exchange money earned from defeating... These tunnels have very impressive 3D effects and play the classic X theme that I'm sure many first heard. Talking is hard. All the missions take place on a scene. Can't talk today. These tunnels are very impressive. Ththese tunnels have very... This is a big pain in the butt to edit. God.